Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 83 today for the Brazilian Grand Prix in Season 4. If you guys did miss the previous episode then at the Mexican Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one, because that was a pretty damn crucial race, and this one equally so, because coming into this then, we are level on points in the Drivers' Championship with not only Kimi Räikkönen, but also Nico Hülkenberg. Three people are equal on points, and there's only 2 races left in this championship. That is very, very interesting, and even more so interesting is this late stage of the season, Renault are still bringing upgrades to the car. Look at this, Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren stay put, but Renault in that top 4 fight improve again with, I would say that's a major update, or maybe even an ultimate upgrade, because that's the same trajectory line as the lines were they had before, if you look on the left-hand side, and we know that was an ultimate upgrade, so maybe Renault brought an ultimate upgrade here to pretty much match Red Bull by literally a pixel there on the performance chart. So crazy stuff here. Renault looks so strong anyway as it is in this late part of the season. They're still improving the car. I'm slightly worried for them that they might not have enough points going to next year. Maybe they're putting too much solace into this year, but at the same time, maybe it's working for them, because obviously they've made a tremendous comeback to the point where they could even try and challenge Red Bull for the Constructors' Championship in 2nd place there. At the moment they're in 3rd. And obviously one of their drivers is level on points for the title. So it's going to be a very crucial entire episode for this, because it sets up then the finale. And you got to say, with the pace of the Renault, it's pretty much a damage limitation in a way, because I don't know how the car is going to perform around here. I'm hoping it's one of those things where, you know, maybe our car has a surprise, performance boost into this weekend, because the Ferrari definitely has been very topsy-turvy. You know, one race it performs really well. Raikkonen's right up there for the race win. The next weekend, both of us are down the order. One weekend I'm up there, he's not so much. It's definitely been a very wishy-washy car, really, and definitely one that's been on the knife edge. And so I just don't know how we're going to perform right now. Obviously, we've made it into Q2, as you can clearly see, but we still have to do the job, get into Q3, and then try and qualify as high as we can. Thankfully, though, there's going to be no engine penalties to talk about when it comes to our car. We took that hit at Mexico. We took an even bigger hit, obviously, by being spun around and crashed out with the front wing off at the very start of that Grand Prix, but we've taken the biggest hits now, and so for Brazil and Mexico, we can kind of just qualify without kind of any issues of penalties pushing us back on the grid. So we do get through into Q3 then with Raikkonen. As you would imagine, both Renaults and Red Bulls get through, and so all 3 of our teams are kind of locked in for a battle for the ages for these last 2 rounds in terms of the constructors and the drivers. I think mathematically Red Bull could still win the constructors, and obviously the top 5, including Ricciardo, Verstappen as well, could mathematically win the championship, along with Raikkonen, Hülkenberg, and myself being on level points. So it's all to play for, really. So this is going to be a very crucial top 10 shootout then, to try and get as high as we can. And I got to say, the car's feeling okay, but it seems Renault once again just have a bit too much pace for us in their back pocket, and it's a bit annoying, really. When the car just simply can't match up to our rivals, there's nothing much we can do. Obviously, me and Raikkonen can try and outdrive the car as much as you want, but there is a certain limit to how much you can outdrive a Formula 1 car and really drag it up the order. And so there's a point where Renault are just too fast for us, and it still remains the same thing, because they lock out the front row then. Carlos Sainz on pole, though, so that's good for us. That maybe Sainz can go on to win the race instead of Hülkenberg there in 2nd place, but you bet he's going to make a good case for it into the opening few laps. Alonso, though, in 3rd place, so here's hoping maybe the McLaren, who's not in the championship fight, can maybe be a spanner of the works and maybe go and chase after the Renaults. But you've got both Red Bulls ahead of us, and also the Toro Rosso. The Kimi Räikkönen's only P7. I qualified in a woeful P9, and so clearly, unfortunately for us, this track, anyway, Brazil, is a difficult one against AI. They're very good around here. I'm not so much personally, but it seems like our car, because Raikkonen's qualified down the order as well, it seems like our car, it's one of those races where the luck has not fallen on us, and our car is just not working very well around this circuit. Now I've got to pretty much hope for the best race we can hope for around Brazil, and try and limit this damage, and maybe hope for some miracle of maybe Hülkenberg going down the order, and obviously us overtaking Raikkonen at some point in the Grand Prix. But then, moving to the next episode for the finale, I've got to hope that the Ferrari, flicks on the switch, and our car's really dialed into the Abu Dhabi Yas Marina circuit. Otherwise, we're in hot water here, and we'll have this championship slip away from us in a very Ferrari-like fashion at the late stage of the season. So let's just go to Sunday then. Let's see what we can do. We have to really pull up our socks and try our hardest from P9 on the grid. Let's get into it.
As surely as the sun rises in the morning, the Brazilian Grand Prix packs out the grandstands and creates incredible drama. Title deciders, heartbreak, triumph and home glory. All these and more can be found in abundance here at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. It's an unusual anti-clockwise race here at Interlagos, where the Sao Paulo locals are packed into the grandstands at each of the 15 corners around this classic 2.7-mile circuit. Two very fast sections bookend the famous and highly technical Sector 2, where getting a good run out of Junsao into one of the two DRS zones will be the key to any overtaking prospects today. Also here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Now, I want to ask you about Kimi Raikkonen. Everything's on the line here today and the title hangs in the balance. So how do you think they'll be coping with all that pressure?
I think as long as they keep their mind on the task and not its historical significance, they'll be just fine. This is a race just like any other. You do the best you can and accept that sometimes things are going to happen outside of your control. If they can approach today with that attitude, the pressure shouldn't be a problem.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, and starting alongside is Nico Hülkenberg. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Alonso, Verstappen, Daniel Ricciardo, and Gasly, Leclerc, the engineer, Bottas, and Lewis Hamilton, Ericsson, Hartley, Sergio Perez, and Ocon. Raikkonen, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Van Dorn, Sergei Sirotkin, and Lance Stroll. Magnussen and Roman Grosjean starts from the back of the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So drama at the start before the Brazilian Grand Prix has even begun. Kimi Raikkonen has a grid penalty. He starts in P15 then on the grid. So for the sake of the team, that's pretty bad for constructors because mathematically still, even Red Bull could still come back and win it. So I'm hoping Kimi can recover his drive from P15. But for us in the for the Drivers' Championship, that's good for me at least because that's one less person I have to worry about. Now, the only other person I need to worry about is on the front row though. Hülkenberg in P2 alongside his teammate. That's still a concern. So we move up one place, up into P8, and we're going to be on a two-stop here today, starting on the Supers we qualified in Q2, of course. We're going to swap it to two sets of soft tyres because I think the tyre wear, for me personally, has been historically a bit higher than I wanted it to around this circuit, and I just can't match the AI for two sets of Supers in one set of soft tyres. So we're going to go for that, and hopefully also try and get an undercut maybe on this early stint by pitting early on lap 9 or 10 on the Supers. I think that's going to be a good plan that could work for us because the traffic definitely is quite horrendous in Sector 2, but either way, here we go then. Just got to really go for it here at the very start. We go to 5 red lights for the Brazilian Grand Prix. We're underway from P8 on the grid alongside Charles Leclerc behind Pierre Gasly there. It's a good getaway for us there. Can we dive down the inside of Leclerc immediately into turn 1? It's Carlos Sainz that does lead away, thankfully, ahead of Hülkenberg. So that's at least good, but Alonso being attacked by the Red Bull car. So maybe the Red Bulls can find some race pace here. They didn't have too much qualifying pace, so enough pace to out-qualify us, of course, but not enough to match the Renault, so here's hoping they can try and push forward and attack those Renaults. At the moment, though, that's not what I want to see on the minimap. The two Renaults are getting away with some clean air already ahead of Fernando Alonso, who's maintained P3. Ricciardo has been squeezed out and overtaken by Pierre Gasly then, so once again, Ricciardo really not on pace in this Red Bull car, and Gasly, the junior man in the sister junior team, is doing a much better job in that Toro Rosso car. So much like at Mexico, can we try and dispatch the Aussie man quite quickly here, because I feel like he might be a bit of a burden. As you can see on the right hand, he's very slow into that brake zone there, mid-apex, and so on the exit, get the traction going round the outside, flat out of there, foot to the floor on the right hand side of our car on the throttle pedal. Ricciardo keeps it on the inside there, but it's going to be a really nice move on the outside. We'll have the legs. The Ferrari engine just pulls a little bit more up the hill, and we're up into P6 now. Pierre Gasly up into P5, doing a great job, but hopefully we can try and catch up to him. In theory, through the corners, we should still have the pace on the Toro Rosso. The Toro Rosso, by all means, is the faster car maybe in a straight line, but I think we should have the downforce against him. But sparks flying there, so I think Leclerc's down the inside of Ricciardo. So Ricciardo, I want to say for his sake, he better have a car issue, otherwise he is really dropped off this season quite a bit in terms of performance and raw speed there, as Leclerc hounds him for P7. And actually on the top left, look at that, Leclerc actually has overtaken Ricciardo. So Ricciardo's AI better hope there's a car issue there for him. But we're in the middle stage of lap 2, and we are closing up on Gasly here, who's being held up a little bit by Dirtier of Verstappen, who's getting the same thing off Fernando Alonso. Meanwhile, the two Renaults are waltzing away, but at the moment we are in a bit of a train that could be P3 to P6 for ourselves. So if we can try and jump all these guys at some point in this first stint. This would be very good for us to get up into that podium position right behind the Renaults and then see what's what from there. And into this same right-hander, we over to Ricciardo. We're going to go around the outside then of Gasly, find the room, found the grip on the downforce there. It plays a great part. Ferrari v Toro Rosso. The aerodynamics kicks in there. We're able to make a lovely little move and we're up into P5. So we're starting good on this plan. Now 2 more cars to go and my plan would have worked and we'll be up into P3 and we can suss out our options from there. Meanwhile, Raikkonen is making moves on the outside of the Force India. Remember, started P15. So nice move there through the center S on the outside. Something I definitely can't maybe pull off all the time because I'm quite poor through the center S compared to the AI historically on the F1 game for the last 3 years or so. But Raikkonen makes that move. He's now chasing after Brent Hartley. Meanwhile, though, we move to this fight then. The 2 Renaults leading 1-2, but that is Nico Hülkenberg having a little look on the outside. He moves to the inside then. It's a switchback move for the German. He's up into first place then, so that's horrendous news for us then. Hülkenberg, if it was ending like this, he would get 25 points, so he'd be in the lead of the Drivers' Championship by some fair way. So that is not great news, and I need Carlos Sainz to buck up, man, and you need to fight your teammate because I need your help. Meanwhile, though, we've got Verstappen attacking Alonso, hustling him left to right to left eventually to try down the inside of turn 1. Doesn't work out, though. The Spaniard is able to squeeze him out there, and so Alonso will still remain in P3. Verstappen will have to try again with DRS now. We've got DRS within 1 second of Verstappen as well, so maybe we can try and make a double pass, but Verstappen first. He's going to maybe try and make the pass. Finished on Alonso down the inside finally, just like Hülkenberg did. He started off on the outside, did the switch back effectively and cut back to the inside, and now we're going to get the move done on Alonso up the hill. Very opportunistic there, caught him napping, and Gasly did the same, and so Alonso in the span of 2 corners and 1 small straight there up the hill loses 3 positions, and he's down to I think P6 that is, or P7, as Verstappen now is P3, and he's the only one that separates us from the podium there. But we're going to pit in now, lap 9. What did I say? An early pit stop on lap 9 or 10. We chose lap 9 from the super softs, and now is the time where we try an undercut. And I know the undercut works quite well around Brazil. Not only is the track, you know, just the undercut works like that, but also the fact that people get stuck in traffic up ahead potentially, and also the tyre wear kicks in quite horrendously. You've got those big traction zones in sector 2. So here's hoping that this undercut will work and we try and jump Verstappen, because we were quite close. So I probably, if I continued on, I might have been able to try and overtake him fair and square with DRS, but I think this will be the better option, to be honest, with an undercut. So we're going to come out in some fairly decent amount of clean air, but we've got some cars up ahead of the Force Indias, and with the pace deficit between the Force India and the Ferrari, we may just catch up to Sergio Perez, and what you know, we exactly do that through the final 2 corners then, as we climb the hill, then a little bit of oversteer, and that Force India maybe quite bad in the corners, but the straight line speed's not too bad for the Force India Mercedes powered car, and also with DRS available for him off the back of the cars ahead of him, it's going to be a bit of a tough order to actually overtake him. We've got Alonso coming out of the pit lane just now. We've only just caught up to Perez though, so I'm not too afraid of falling behind Alonso. You know, all that irony about me talking about traffic for other people, I'm getting stuck in some traffic on my own, and so at this stage I'm not too confident that the move on Verstappen will be made on the undercut. But here we go, we're still trying to overtake the pink car. Sergio Perez down the inside, out we go of this corner just before the hill. We had some very awkward encounters last season, remember. We had about 3-4 incidents into that corner in the McLaren where people were kind of parking on the apex very awkwardly there, so good move to the inside. We've got some people coming to the pit lane, including Romain Grosjean there, so as we cross the line, Raikkonen is up there in the pit lane as well, behind Leclerc in the pit lane, and there is Verstappen then. He's actually still coming out of the pit lane on the left hand side, and so we are going to jump him. Yes, we are. Look at the top left. Alonso is also going to jump him, I think, maybe just about. I think Verstappen might have that. No, he doesn't. Alonso has jumped him, so Verstappen has lost 2 places by pitting in 2 laps after all of us then, so the undercut has worked a treat, and so theoretically we should be up into a net P3. We've got to overtake Stoffel Van Dorn, and then pretty much we'll be in that scenario, because the only other remaining cars on track are the 2 Renaults and then the 2 Mercedes and the Toro Rosso Brent Hartley. All 3 of those guys are doing a 1-stop from soft to mediums, whereas the 2 Renaults are on a 2-stop. I'm on a 2-stop, and Van Dorn's on a 2-stop clearly on soft tyres here. I know he might be on a 1-stop, but he might just be that slow. And so now we're up the order, up into P6. As I said, Hartley's the next car up, and then you've got a bit of a checkerboard of, I think the Renaults are right in the middle of trying to overtake the Mercedes cars. And so for my sake, I'm hoping the Mercedes cars have enough oomph in their engines to hold up the Renault guys in a straight line. But to be fair, that's been the strong point of the Renaults in the last couple episodes. You know, they've always been good at aero. I think they've been like the 2nd best team in aero since the beginning of season 4 here. But the thing that's improved for them has been the chassis and the engine power, I think, as of late. and so I don't have too much hope, but that's the only hope I do have to cling on to. So let's all pray in the comments below, shall we, for some good traffic for the Renaults, because pretty much, I think, honestly, that is the only way I'm going to catch up to them, because hand on heart, I think they're too fast for me right now. The car is just too quick compared to the Ferrari car, and so I'm going to have a miracle of some sort like we had at Mexico to even try and get near them. Meanwhile, what we're watching right now is the demise of Red Bull Racing, because Verstappen being chased down by Gasly. It's 3 wide, Verstappen on the inside, Gasly around the outside of the Force India car there. Obviously a slower car in that fight, but Gasly uses that back marker pretty much to good effect there to try and fight Verstappen off there. The two still side by side, but this really has been a very odd second half of the season. Red Bull, after looking so strong, remember, they were leading the championship by 95 points plus at one point in the Constructors, and now they might even lose second place here, because Renault with the 1-2, Ricciardo's pretty much out of the points, I think. Verstappen's fighting Gasly for lower end points. I think Renault pretty much have that jump into second place in the bag, and they definitely are showing that pace because they're quickly overtaking the Mercedes cars, and so all that kind of natter about Mercedes holding them up is pretty much not going to come true, because they have too much pace, and so they're going to eventually get past both Mercedes cars that are trying the one-stop, so fair play to them, but Renault have too much pace, and hopefully we will have too much pace in the Mercedes cars and catch up to them eventually, but the one-stop for now is at least giving them track position of some sort there, but it's still Hulkenberg, the lead Renault, against Sainz, so it's not looking good. I'm running out of words to say. All I can say is it's not looking great, because Hulkenberg's going to probably win this race. Sainz second place. The best I can hope for is third place, and that's just going to be a very bitter pill to swallow in terms of going to the finale. I'm going to need more than a miracle. I'm going to need like a DNF from Hulkenberg to really take this championship then in Abu Dhabi, probably, if it ends up like this at the moment. As we watch now down this DRS straight, Hulkenberg is back in the lead on circuit there. Sainz trying to get up into second place on the road, but the Mercedes car for now doing a good enough job to keep him at bay, and so that's actually adding misery to me, because I need Sainz to be not held up and actually right behind Hulkenberg, giving him pressure. Meanwhile, someone giving pressure to someone else is Pierre Gasly on Fernando Alonso there. Lovely move to the inside there by the Frenchman against the Spaniard. Can he do anything to defend up the hill? Gasly maybe with a bit more pace on the outside there to drag the car around. Yes, he does. It's a fantastic move there. You got to say, both Toro Rosso, not just Gasly, Hartley as well. Both Toro Rosso, they've been pulling off some spectacular moves this entire season, but Gasly especially, this race pulled off the move on Ricciardo early on. He's making a real big case for Red Bull, giving them a headache in terms of, it's a little bit embarrassing at times, because at the moment, look at that, Red Bull are nowhere at the moment. Ricciardo's behind a Sauber, Verstappen is behind Gasly, way down the order, a fair few seconds behind that fight between Alonso and Gasly. I don't know where the Red Bull pace has gone. Like, I think someone needs to put out like an APB, a 999 call for where on earth the Red Bulls have gone this season, because they really have gone missing at the moment. Someone needs to fill out a report of some kind, because now even Raikkonen's coming back into this Grand Prix. He finds himself right behind Alonso and Gasly, so kudos to Raikkonen from recovering from P15. Looks like he's going to be on for a strong points-paying position, which is good for us in the championship for the Constructors. And it's now the last third of the Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz, who saw, came in for his second and final pit stop of the afternoon, and Sainz comes out behind, actually, Verstappen, that is, who's chasing after Fernando Alonso, who's already been overtaken then by Raikkonen. So Raikkonen's got past Alonso. He might even try and chase after Gasly, and so he could be up into what would be around P5, which would be an amazing recovery from P15 here around Sao Paulo, because he's actually now directly behind me on track. Hulkenberg comes in eventually for his stop then, and let's see where he comes out in relation to Carlos Sainz, and actually in relation to me, because I'm still going on these soft tyres. You can see I'm right there, right up behind Hulkenberg within DRS, and this was my only chance to see Hulkenberg on the road. But obviously I have to make another pit stop, so more than anything this was just annoyance for me, and just a bit of a tease that I could see my rival on the road right ahead of me, but I knew the entire time I really couldn't do anything. There was an inkling of me that hoped maybe if I could get ahead of Hulkenberg, I could pull off some miracle one stop from super soft to soft tyres, and just, park the bus, park the stadium, park the entirety of Maranello on every apex, and try and drag Hulkenberg through to P2. But alas, he's come ahead of me, and I know I have to make a pit stop eventually, so we are going to come in on lap 24 And so Hulkenberg remains in P1, Carlos Sainz will up into P2, and I will come out in P3, and that's going to be pretty much that, I would say, because we're moving to soft tyres. The only fight that'll be left for me to do is obviously fighting back up into an actual P3, because remember, you've got the 2 Mercedes and that Toro Rosso Hartley, they're doing a 1-stop, so I may come out in, well, hopefully a net P3, but I'm actually going to be like P6 on the road. I still have some overtaking to do to make sure I actually get back up into that podium position. We've got to overtake that Kiwi man in the Toro Rosso, and then both the Finn and the Brit in the Mercedes car. So we come out and we're going to push as hard as we can and just get back up into that P3 and at least enjoy the last few laps of this Brazilian Grand Prix. And actually, it looks like it's not just Brendan Hartley I need to overtake. I need to overtake Gasly, who's done an undercut on me because he hit a lot earlier for his second stop. So we have to try and re-overtake the Frenchman. Then on the outside, and a little bit of contact there on the rear right and the front left. No love lost between me and Pierre Gasly in F1 games, clearly. Around the outside we go, though, but he's going to give us a real good fight for the money here. Up the road, the Toro Rosso has the straight line speed. The hand of anger goes up in the cockpit here as we go on to lap 26. 10 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and Gasly is putting up a bigger fight than I ever thought he would do. I'm going to let him go into turn 1, cut in nice and tight, and I'm going to make the move now on the next straight there. No point trying it in turns 1 and 2 because I know how poor I am through those corners mid-apex. So here we go now. DRS open, hot lap mode, then onto overtake mode on ERS. Rich Mix going around the outside, then slam on the brakes, try and pinch him into the apex. We do get that finally. Now up into P6, and now we can get on to overtake Brendan Hartley up the road. And then on the mini-map, you can see those 2 turquoise dots of the Mercedes cars, and you can see actually, annoyingly, no yellow dots anywhere. The Renaults have really checked out this Grand Prix, you know, I think is the correct term. So now the 2 Mercedes cars go side by side. Hamilton and Bottas hammering tong there as they go up the hill. That'll slow them down as we catch up to Hartley now. Going to try and make a move on the outside. It's super soft v medium, so not surprised to make that move. And actually, yeah, if you might have noticed, I've gone on to super softs because I dragged out that second stint so much, trying to maybe see if I could get ahead of Hulkenberg on the road, that actually I had enough maybe laps left in the Grand Prix, or less laps left in the Grand Prix, that I could go on to super softs and afford to do so. So in the end, I actually go against what I said at the very beginning of the episode, and I could actually make the 2-stop work on 2 sets of supers. So now we go down the inside of Valtteri Bottas, then up into what is P4, and now just 1 pass left to make, and we up into the podium position against Lewis Hamilton then. So sizing up the move now, a little bit early on the brakes, trying to do a bit of a switch move on the right-hand side, try and get the power down earlier, but Hamilton places his car quite well. Again, might have to try and move in the last corner here, but just like last season, he parks it awkwardly on the apex like so many other AI cars did, and instead we have to wait up the hill then. Slipstream going, Rich Mix on, overtake mode, DRS open, and we'll finally make that move, and we're down the inside there on the left, and we're up into 3rd place of the Grand Prix. But Carlos Sainz is still P2. He's nowhere near Hulkenberg, actually. I think Hulkenberg stretched out by a fair few seconds, or about 7 or 8 to his teammate there. So unfortunately, it will be a very easy win then in the end for Nico Hulkenberg, and he will take a commanding lead of the Drivers' Championship, I would say, to Carlos Sainz in 2nd place. Obviously, he's not in the championship fight, but it means that he pushes us down the order P3. Raikkonen, in the end, is actually closing up on us in P4. So, you know, like I said, GG's to him for recovering from P15 there. And he's actually got enough cheek to slipstream us towards the line to maybe try and grab a late P3, but we're going to cross it first up into P3. Although I say it would be because we got handed a small penalty in that race and we lose the podium. Raikkonen gets P3 and I end up in P4.
It was a magnificent race and a drive right out of the top drawer to take the win for Renault. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
Well, I think the track conditions just really suited their car today. Wind, track temperature, you name it. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature. So the more easily you can keep them there, the better your race tends to go. And that's exactly what happened. Their car just looks so comfortable out there.
Here come today's winning drivers, and what a race it was. This is a team that knows success very well in F1, and they're just itching for even more. Congratulations to the Renault team for their excellent win today.
Now, you might be wondering and confused where on earth that penalty was. I'll show you guys right now after the podium sequence is over. But yeah, we did finish up in P4 in the end officially, with Raikkonen taking the P3 here. And this is why we got the penalty on lap 31. The tiniest of margins here. A bit of a Felipe Massa moment. Literally crossed the white line for like 2 seconds there. Gained no advantage. And yet the FI feel like I gained some sort of advantage by extending the track. And that's why I got a small 3-second penalty. So in the words of Felipe Massa, unacceptable FI. Unacceptable. undeserved, and so Raikkonen gets more points than me in this Grand Prix. So not only did I lose a heap of points to Hulkenberg, Raikkonen will also overtake me in the championship effectively. So to the drivers' standings, Hulkenberg now is 10 points ahead of Raikkonen, and he's a further 3 points ahead of myself. So we are 13 points behind the race, the championship leader, going into Abu Dhabi. Like I said, Abu Dhabi pretty much now. One, I need to hope the Ferrari car is switched on as ever, and it's one of those Chinese Grand Prix races or British Grand Prix races where the Ferrari car comes alive out of nowhere and is the fastest car on track, just, you know, surprisingly. And two, I need Hulkenberg to be a bit down the order. It's not good enough for a 1-2 for Ferrari. I need Sainz to overtake him. I need one of the Red Bulls or McLarens to help me out there. I need to push Hulkenberg down the order in Abu Dhabi. And I don't know about you guys, I just don't see how that's going to happen with the recent form of both Renaults. So the back is against the wall, and I don't know how this is going to end up, really. Constructors-wise, we still lead the way, so I'm not too worried about the Constructors. I'm confident we should be able to take home the Constructors' Championship for Ferrari, so obviously that's where all the money is, so I'm hoping Arriva, Bene and Maranello will be happy with that, but obviously, for me personally, it will be a bit gutting. Also, for the same for Raikkonen, I guess, because both of us were on equal points going into this race. To come so close yet so far, we'll have to see, but it's not over yet. Remember, never stop believing. 13 points. I've done crazier stuff before, I guess, in F1 games, so let's see. But Renault do overtake Red Bull in second place for the Constructors, so the real fall of Red Bull from what was 95 points plus, like I keep banging on about, ahead in the championship at one stage of the season, to now third place in the championship behind both Renault and Ferrari. Yeah, Red Bull really have bottled this championship. I think it was very much in their hands for a fair few races midway through the season, especially at the very start of the season as well. So, yeah, very intriguing Brazilian Grand Prix then, with a bit of controversy at the end there with the penalty as well. It's all going to set up a very enthralling Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, guys. You can see on the entire season results, it's been a very topsy-turvy time, and so we've got one last episode to end off Season 4. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one, though. If you did, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, do get subscribed for weekly F1 content, guys, and I hope you'll join me tomorrow for the finale of Season 4 at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Who's your money on? Nico Hulkenberg, Kimi Raikkonen, or myself? Let me know in the comments below. But till then, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.